Welcome to the Kolbecast, episode 275. Thank you for joining us. Today, Bonnie and I are joined by the McMahon family, who had 2 Kolbe graduates in 2025. Whether it's actually 7 H's or 4, the McMahon family tells us about the importance of homeschooling, homesteading, home birthing, and the 4-H organization in their family. We always love to hear how our Kolbe families are thriving in their homeschool journeys. We appreciate the McMahons coming on to hear how they make it work. We hope that you'll enjoy the show.
Hi there, I'm Bonnie, Kolbe homeschooling mom of 4 lads and lasses, liturgical musician, popcorn, and podcast fanatic.
And this is Stephen, homeschooling father of 5 and director of development for Kolbe Academy.
Hi, Stephen. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm home. So I was traveling last we've had 2 flights over the last month, which have been great events. My daughter's wedding, and then this was a conference that I was going to. But I have found more ways to have delayed flights than I ever thought was possible. So I'm glad to be home, and I think I'm going to stick to my truck from here on out as much as I can. But I'm doing great, though. How about you, Bonnie?
I'm doing all right. I'm not sure whether to congratulate you on that accomplishment of the flight situation. Is that a congratulations? Not sure, but well done. You've on the other side of it at least. That's good.
I made it home, so it was a success.
Okay, good. That's good. We're visiting today with the McMahon family, Ted, Cindi, and Jeremiah. Hi, guys. Welcome to the Kolbecast.
Thank you, Bonnie. Thank you, Steve. Hello.
We are very glad to visit with you. We've actually gotten to visit with Jeremiah before. On episode 244, he was telling us about his experience at Christendom's summer program right about this time a year ago, wasn't it? And now you are a Kolbe alumnus. You graduated this year. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's been a quick 4 years, but yeah, it was an honor to graduate.
And actually, Jeremiah will be going to Christendom. That's the school he settled on. Yes.
Okay, I think that was not yet decided when we talked to you then, so we'll have to hear more about that as we continue in our conversation. So let's start actually. You are now a Kolbe alumnus. Let's talk about how you have made use of Kolbe's offerings. For those who didn't catch you on 244 yet, we'll include that link in our show notes. But tell us, when you were a Kolbe student, how did you make use of the offerings?
So I was a full-time online student. I started in my freshman year. We heard about Kolbe from some friends, and we tried maybe 1 or 2 summer classes. And then we decided we liked it. I did my freshman year. I liked it. And then we just continued with the online courses and all that entails: live teachers, live classes, classmates in the Adobe platform. It was just a great experience overall.
Good deal. And so you're not the only Kolbe student in your family. Is that pretty much how everybody in the family does the courses?
So my older brother, Patrick, he graduated with me. I have a younger brother, Brendan, who went to a private school for about the past 4 years, and now he's going into a technical high school close to us. My older brother was homeschooled K through 8, and then he went to high school, a public high school near us. My older sister, she was homeschooled for basically all of her life, and then my oldest sister, she was homeschooled for a bit of her life, and she also went to some private schools.
Gotcha.
So,
Okay.
Yeah, we've done a little bit of whatever. The bookend boys want to do vote tech trades. So one did VOAG like his dad, and the other one wants to turn wrenches. So he's going to go to a school, hopefully, and learn how to be a mechanic.
Very cool. My son, who just graduated from Kolbe, is in training to be an aircraft mechanic. So that's very good.
There you go.
That's great.
Yeah,
Yep.
great.
Very cool. Okay, so Ted and Cindi, we'd love to get to know you a bit. Tell us about your family.
So I actually, when I met Cindi, she knew I had been homeschooled. I pulled myself out of this traditional VOAG setting when I was a junior, when my guidance counselor told me I didn't have enough credits to graduate, and I was afraid to tell my parents. And then they shortly thereafter approached me about being a mentor to 2 young boys who were going to be homeschooled. And I said, I'd love to do that without having to tell them I was never going to graduate in time. And then from there, I actually learned how to study. The curriculum we were using taught me good study skills, how to be a better student. And then I went to school for agriculture. Actually, Cindi and I both matriculated at the University of Connecticut, right up the road from us here. We actually graduated in the same ceremony on Mother's Day in 1991. We did not meet till 7 years later. And the other fun fact is that Fred Rogers was our commencement speaker. So for our generation, it kind of nicely put the bow on the box, right?
Yes, for sure.
Grow up with Fred Rogers, and then you go out with him as your commencement speaker. Mr. Rogers, yes. So I'm in the field of landscaping. I have a degree in ornamental horticulture. Cindi went to school for pharmacy. We've been married 25 years. Cindi does both homemaking and she does have to do some work in regards to her pharmacy work. It's here at home, so we're blessed that she doesn't have to leave the house. And then, like Jeremiah said, we have the two older girls. One who came into the marriage with Cindi, her stepdaughter, Julie. And then we have Anita, who did homeschooling her years, now works with me in the landscape firm that I work for. Our oldest son, Eamon, is a commercial lobsterman in New Hampshire. Patrick and Jeremiah are going to find their way into the big world. And lastly, Brendan is going to that VOTEC high school to hopefully be a mechanic. We live on roughly about an acre of land with all our homesteading, goats, chickens, 2,000 square foot vegetable garden, you name it, we'll try it, do it. We're located in Eastern Connecticut, so we're kind of between the halfway point on the eastern point of the state, between like say Worcester, Massachusetts as a reference point, and New London, Connecticut, like where the Coast Guard Academy is.
That is an area I've never been. I'd love to see it. Maybe one of these days.
It's rolling hills. It's kind of nice.
So I was going to say something about how the family utilizes Kolbe's offerings. Kind of Jeremiah gave you the in a nutshell version of that. But we enrolled our two sons, Patrick and Jeremiah, as you said, full-time online with Kolbe High School. So it was after my work became full-time, which was rather unexpected. It was unexpectedly that happened, and we needed a program that would work for both of them. So getting them to a brick and mortar Catholic high school was not an option for several reasons, logistically, financially, et cetera. And after seeing the adaptability of Kolbe's offerings, we knew it was the best fit for our needs. And specifically, they offered both part-time and full online enrollment. And one son needed full-time, that'd be Jeremiah. And the other was still working. Patrick was still working with our previous curriculum, since he had some things to finish, and he was determined to finish it up. And good for him that he wanted to do that. So he was, had his heart set on that. So we eased him into it. We also need to be sure he could transition well to the online live class setting. So before we threw him into it full time, we had to be sure he could keep up with the pace of the classes. So since he had some health challenges due to some Lyme disease from early on, when he was about age 5, he hadn't fully developed the ability to work, mentally challenging coursework throughout the day without a break. So that was a concern for me with the online live classes, that he could keep up the pace. So he still needs some breaks from fatigue and just feeling overwhelmed. So we had him start with the math, which was the most challenging for me to teach anyway. So plus one or two other subjects. So he did really well keeping up, thanks to the excellent faculty. And, they really were supportive. They clearly cared and they wanted him to succeed. So they would always be encouraging and constructive in any feedback emails that they gave for both the boys. So they were always prompt in replying and very responsive to any questions and concerns with coursework. So we really found it a good fit for our family for those reasons, when we had to move away from the traditional homeschool curriculum and into something that was live online high school for the boys to be able to succeed. So we said, since our youngest was in school, it wasn't a practical, possibility for us to really send them to another Catholic high school. So
sure.
Yeah. Oh, you sound like kind of the ideal Kolbe family, kind of choosing what's best for each student and utilizing
we appreciated the flexibility. Yeah. We, in the end, we really appreciated that about it.
So I think we were like the typical Kolbe family. Someone said at commencement, I don't, one of you probably know what the percentage of increase was when COVID hit. And so people went searching because obviously we figured out during COVID, kids could do school and do Zoom. Our oldest son, Eamon, the one, the commercial fisherman, was sent home to do Zoom meetings for school. And so it just seemed natural that, well, why couldn't the two younger boys find a curriculum that was authentic, Catholic, and they could meet in person with their classmates and their professors.
Yeah. So talk to us sort of on a family level, what a typical day or week looked like while you were homeschooling.
Yeah, there was a bit of a routine that we have fallen into, and we tweaked it a bit. Like we have a shared responsibility for the goats. Us boys do. My older brother and my younger brother and me, we mostly take care of the goats. And so we used to just do one person would do all the goat chores for one day, and we would each choose days throughout the week and schedule accordingly if we had stuff going on. And then recently we kind of split it into one person would do mornings, one person would do evenings, and we just split that kind of stuff up. Just depending on where everyone's going, because myself and my older brother, we're now driving and we do stuff like we're working during the day, working during the evening. There's just a bunch that stuff needs to be coordinated. And I would say a normal day for me, if I was doing goat chores, I would wake up probably around 6:15, start my goat chores. That take about maybe an hour, do some morning prayers, have a breakfast maybe. I would say during my senior year, sometimes breakfast was just an optional thing. Sometimes I just wasn't crazy about breakfast. Sometimes I just wasn't hungry. And so, move on with that morning and open up my computer, see what I had to do for schoolwork, my assignments, that kind of stuff. By classes, do that. And then anytime between classes, like maybe the 10-15 minute break, I would have to give the goats some hay or refresh their water. And that would happen. Usually I give them hay and water about every 3 or 4 hours. So if I do it 6 a.m. and then 10 a.m. and then 2 p.m. and then 6 p.m. again. So that first, oh, of course we have to milk and feed them too. So the first milking is at 6:30 and then the evening milking is at 6:30 p.m. So it all just kind of matches up. And the goats, I was watching my brother do something with the goats yesterday, and I just realized how well they're trained because he was moving 3 goats to a different pen and 4 goats to a different pen, and he was doing it by himself. The goats followed him down to that pen. He opened the gate, they went in, and the other ones came out and went to the other pen. And it's just such a routine that we've gotten into and that the ghosts have gotten into. And it's been 10, 9, 8 years. So just throughout the day, it's a responsibility that we have taking care of the goats and making sure they're all fed and watered and that kind of stuff.
And I don't think we would have gotten into the level of homesteading that we did if the boys weren't available to be home. As you're hearing Jeremiah say, it takes quite a bit of commitment to, keep hay in front of them, water refreshed and all that. And Cindi couldn't do it solely on her own. So really the curriculum fits nicely into the flexibility of having to walk away from your class between sessions and do this or do that, or whether you've scheduled all morning work or all evening or afternoon work for your classes. So in that way, it was really ideal, probably, right, Cindi, for them to. I mean, we were just talking about that because now with the 2 boys gone and Brendan gone, a lot of it probably will fall on Cindi, who's home full time. So it's we've had a luxury for about 10 years now that gonna kind of go away a little bit, but it's all good. I mean, they learned responsibility in school about studying and learning, and they've learned responsibility about animal care, and both of them are very important to us.
I would think that even though it's a lot of work and it's schedule managing, to me, who I spend days on my computer working remotely, that's kind of an ideal break, though. I mean, because you can only be in front of your screen for so long before you just really want to get up and do something, actually, not just sit there. So I imagine that was kind of nice.
Yeah, I'm so impressed and amazed at the the routine you've developed and this responsibility you've cultivated, and speaking to their comment about how well the goats are trained, that's a direct reflection of the effort you all have put into this, and I think it's just beautiful, and I can imagine it easily translating to all areas of life as you go forward, Jeremiah, into college and life beyond that, how well it's going to serve you. I think that's amazing, and I really admire what you all have accomplished. And so as we've been making reference, you all are homesteaders. We want to delve more deeply into that. Before I move away from the homeschooling section, though, do you have any standout memories, happy or cautionary, that you would want to leave with us that you haven't already shared?
You want to start with that, Jeremiah?
Yeah, you're the graduate. You start, Jeremiah.
I would say definitely anytime. I didn't really meet any, I only had meetings with Kolbe students in person. One of them was the 2024 graduation, and then the March for Life trip this year, which was absolutely amazing. And then this year's graduation that I graduated in. So that's just one of the moments when it's like we've seen each other on the cameras for 3.5, 4 years now. And then you get to see these people in person, and it's almost like you guys did a whole episode on the graduation, and I remember how
It was still talking about it's a bit of a foretaste
or like a foreshadowing of heaven, because we only see each other like partly through this screen, and we want to see each other in person. But the fullness of it is actually meeting each other in person and hopefully meeting each other in heaven as well. So I think that was some of the greatest moments of my homeschool time. Like graduating 8th grade, that was amazing. Getting to be on the classes day to day and making all the memories. But when we finally met up, it was like the fullness of our fruit almost, if that makes sense.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Very well put.
Yeah, that is very well put. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You're the homeschool mom. What do you have, Cindi?
I just had jotted down a few things that in general about homeschooling, happy memories through the years, because Jeremiah's obviously focused on, his Kolbe years, which he's what we're here for. And but just having kids, being able to be involved with our parish, our community, opportunities they wouldn't have otherwise have had if they weren't homeschooled. It's been a great way for the boys to grow up with the animals. And that's something that, as Ted mentioned, you probably would have or couldn't have done if they were all in school. And they've been involved in choirs, musical groups, homeschool family groups, altar serving, just to name a few things. So they've learned to grow as independent people. And they've learned even some leadership skills along the way, which has been a lot of helpful things that they've been able to learn, some through 4-H and just through different settings that they ordinarily wouldn't have been exposed to if they were in school. And they're comfortable in different settings, different age groups, not just with peers their own age, as you'll hear from most other homeschool families. So they really became adaptable and pretty outgoing, which I think is a good thing. So, yeah.
I don't know. As the dad, I think just the culmination of 4 years of hard work on these boys' part.
Yeah, it was a good graduation.
Yeah, you see it firsthand when they're home. When Simon left home to go to school, it was more just what he brought home from school and what, your teenage son wants to tell you about his school day. Good, bad, or indifferent. So I don't know. I kept thinking the whole way to Georgia, because we drove down. We did a 2-day trek from Connecticut down 81 to North Carolina into Georgia. Just how fulfilling it felt to get to this point, and then just land there and just enjoy all the company with all these people. As it turned out, we met a relative of mine, so that was really extraordinary on my part. But just again, just see the boys finish something they started.
Yeah,
just like
full circle.
Yeah, to just like we've done with our goats. You saw these kids 10 years ago when they were learning goats. They were very green and it was hard, and now they just very polished, like Brendan being able to switch 4 out and bring 3 down, and it all flows. The discipline and the learning and the knowledge they gain and the structure that been created is been very beneficial, and it's benefited our family a lot for sure.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So you're a 4-H family, and you've been using this term 4-H for these four facets of your family life that all start with H, homeschooling being one of them we just covered, moving into homesteading now. So let's go down that path. How did you get into that, and take us from there?
Well, do you want to tell the story about Eamon?
Yeah.
So our oldest son Eamon wanted to play Little League baseball, and he was going through a point in his life where his vision was changing, so he couldn't hit a ball and he couldn't catch a ball. And at some point, he looked at Cindi in the classroom one day when we were doing, the curriculum we do with them in K-8, and told Cindi, "Mom, I want a cow." So Cindi calls me at work, and I'm thinking, okay, well, I've worked on 2 dairy farms in my life when I was in high school and outside of college. And I'm thinking, okay, on 1 acre of land, we're not getting a cow. And she wisely called the town, and the town instructed her and said, yep, you don't have enough acreage, but you can do goats, you can do chickens, you can do sheep and all that. And I think at that point, the woman even said, you should call the 4-H office in Norwich, Connecticut, and they can probably give you the lead of a family that could help you get into one of those animals. So Cindi made that phone call, and there was another homeschool family in the town next to us who has all girls, and they were long in the tooth into goats by then. And it was really like homeschooling. It was a perfect fit. They were a homeschool family. They were Christians. They're Baptist. And from there, the ball just rolled. They don't necessarily just give you off an animal and say goodbye, good luck. You go into their mentoring program, which is very wise. I mean, what the Smiths did was just very, very good for everybody who was under their leadership and their guidance. Some families will just, sell their goats and they don't worry about it, or they'll sell and get a goat and, you bye-bye, good luck. But these people really, I don't know if they just saw in us that we wanted to learn and that we would nurture the animals correctly, and it would, from there would flow more goat, doing food processing like Cindi does with cheese and yogurt. So, and it just kind of blossomed from there. As the boys got older, we added more goats. And then it gave us more milk. COVID hit, and, everybody wanted to be a little food independent. And we kind of already were, because we had the chickens and we had the milk. So for some things we weren't lacking, while the rest of the world was madly searching, for whatever they could get off the shelves. And I think as the boys have matured and they've been able to do more work, it's just allowed us to do more. We've tried meat birds, which we were very successful at. I kind of missed the ball on doing this year. But, Patrick, the one who's not here, graduate Jeremiah, would like to be a farmer full-time at some point in his life. That's his goal. So maybe he'll take it over from us. I was kind of raised in a farming family. My dad grew up on 1.5 acres of land in Acre Victory Garden. He was born in 1939, so it was the onset of the war, and his parents raised a lot of veggies and ate animals. It kind of skipped me, other than my VOAG education in high school for horticulture. And then the boys are kind of have relived that again. So I envision this is how my dad lived. Except there wasn't a war and there wasn't, all that. It was the 40s and the 50s. But so it kind of harkens back, brings back memories of listening to my dad talk about how he grew up and how he was raised. And so it's been a lot of work. It takes a lot of perseverance, things we want to instill in these kids. But overall, it's been a good thing. I wouldn't change it for the world. So, I mean, for 1 acre of land, I will say this. I mean, we've certainly utilized as much of the land as we can. I mean, we have friends that live on bigger pieces of parcel, and they have this luxury of spreading animals out. And you saw our property. We have a house. We have a small backyard, 2,000 square foot vegetable garden with a goat shed one side, an open piece of land for the boys to play games on. That's, 100 by 25, and then the goat also have an area in the back. So we do kind of get to rotate them. Ideally, you want your animals on, bigger pasture, greener pasture, more pasture. We don't have that luxury, but we did carve out parts of the yard where, and it all flows nicely, that they can rotate between a shed and an open area, relax and get out and do what goats do.
Neat. For families for whom they are hoping to make that transition soon, that's something they're contemplating, hasn't happened yet. What might you suggest to them, or any advice you'd pass along for them as they're embarking upon that, making that change?
You want to fill that one?
I don't really do all the talking. Well, I think, like I said about our friends, the Smith, our 4-H mentors, I think it's wise to do your homework. I mean, Cindi made a phone call. We didn't just say, oh, we need a goat, we're going to buy a goat. And they instructed us properly. So I think definitely, being prudent about your decision to what you want to venture into. I mean, maybe for some people, it's just growing something. Maybe it's, their first try at growing vegetables. And, there's a lot of online stuff. There's many gardeners online on YouTube now, or just joining a garden club or something like that. And then, I mean, when it comes to animals, you definitely probably should be reaching out to 4-H, at least when your kids are young. I mean, if you're doing with a young family, I don't mean to jump subjects here, but that definitely is the best avenue for families with young kids. I mean, it's the equivalent of like, Babe Ruth baseball for sports, or, travel teams for other sports and things like that. They really impress upon kids the importance of whatever subject you're going to get into, or what I should say, whatever animal or whatever your discipline, I should say, is that they can direct you to the right groups, and those leaders who have had experience in this can then work with those kids to train them and make them very proficient in what they hope to learn and get out of it.
It's okay to ease into it. I mean, we started with 2 goats.
Yep.
Who were babies at the time, and it was fun for the kids, and it was great to see them grow along with the animals, and then gradually venturing into things like breeding them and getting them in milk, and using their products, and expanding kind of our homesteading skills bit by bit. It wasn't all at once. It doesn't have to be. It can be just like as of starting with a garden or something, or a few veggies, and get a few chickens, and start with the easy stuff and see how it goes. And you can gradually add on, and, just it becomes natural after a while, natural progression. And a lot of fun. It's a great way for the kids to grow up. And they spend a lot of time outside. They spend less time on screens and, inside. And, that's been really good for them. Very healthy. So healthy lifestyle.
I mean, our first 2 goats, just kind of throw this out there. They lived in a used chicken coop first, and then they graduated to a Little Tykes house, which we still have, which is where some
because they adopted it.
Yeah, correct.
So
So
they moved in.
Their fence and decided that was where they wanted to stay.
I mean, eventually we landed in a 15 by 30 shed. We, fortunately had the financial means to then make that leap once we knew we were going to get more animals, and we wanted to have more milk, and what goes with that, more grain and more feed and more hay and all that. But it is, I mean, it can be very simple. I mean, it doesn't have to be extraordinary. And, you definitely have to make sure you have the financial means to do it. It's a real commitment financially. Bales of hay in Connecticut nowadays cost $8. They eat a bale a day. Sometimes the goats eat better than the parents and the kids. A bag of grain is $20. I mean, we go through every other week, every 2 weeks.
And there is a lot they give back. There's a lot you can do with the milk and the the products, but we haven't invested in infrastructure and inspections and all that to sell our milk or milk products, which some people just sell, goat soap at fairs, or they make with milk or things like that, which is an option for some people. And and our boys do show at the fairs, so they get a little bit of income back from that when they show well. But it's we've had other families that we've bartered milk products with, and they've been very gracious. So it's not a total loss. It's just, it is a financial commitment. So be aware of that, and be very, aware that that's a big, real part of it. So be prepared that you're going to get into animals, especially that's a commitment. So pretty long-term one.
We're slowly starting this process here in our Arkansas property, and So just chickens and turkeys and guinea
Nice.
fowl so far. But the gardening, I'm a little curious about because I've done a garden now for 3 years in a row. I'm just trying to figure out what works. But it seems
Yeah.
like mine's not 2,000 square feet of garden. But last year was like tomato time, and it was like everybody's so happy with tomatoes, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, we've had enough tomatoes.
Yeah.
What can we do with it? This year it's cucumbers. And
Yeah.
I just put in the same plants. Last year I got a few cucumbers. It was great. Now I have like 5.5 gallons of pickles in my, you know, what do you do with them?
I'll trade you goat milk for pickles.
Guys got to meet halfway.
Yeah, we got to meet halfway, exactly. Yeah, no, it's kind of interesting. So our garden kind of became, then they had beagles and she had fenced in this little part of the yard, and so I just paced off what naturally felt like a good garden to me. And it just ended up being that it was 2,000 square feet. I mean, it's 1,800, but I always round up. I mean, in the world I work in, you always round up just to be safe and cover all your costs and everything. But it's time management. You have to be able to do both.
Yeah, it doesn't all get used every year because of his nature of his work and my work.
Yeah, landscaping does not play well with gardening.
Yes.
Hopefully I'll have a really nice garden when I'm retired.
Mhm.
And our kids and our grandkids will benefit from that. And I mean, if you look at what John Cuddeback's doing there in Virginia, he posted a thing like this week about, well, the weeds are winning. I mean, that's the reality of it sometimes. And I've seen John's gardens, and it's a beautiful layout, but he's a busy man too. It's like all of us. So I think you concentrate on what you can do really well. Like you said, Steve, you do well with tomatoes and cucumbers, and concentrate on those few things and hope for the best.
Barter them away, trade them away.
Yeah.
You'll be
Well,
surprised.
fortunately, with the cucumbers, I can just give them to the chickens, and they're
Yeah.
off.
Yes,
Right.
correct.
That's
Yes.
another benefit.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Well, the way from her cheese goes, the chickens love the whey.
Yep.
She won't let me dump it in the compost, which is a better use for it. But
The compost takes a little bit of it. The chickens, it hardens their eggshells because they have
Correct.
Oh,
calcium.
nice.
So yeah,
and we're not really doing.
win-win.
I mean, we're not doing anything that generations before us didn't already. We haven't reinvented the wheel. We haven't changed anything. This really is just how people lived for eons.
You're trying to make ways to make use of what you have.
Yeah.
Make it
I
efficient.
mean, probably all our grandparents and their grandparents did it. So
Not pretty. It's not fashionable or flashy, but it works.
That's
We do it right.
the idea of stewardship. Very,
yes,
very
stewardship.
prominent. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You're talking about Dr. John Cuddeback from Christendom College that we got to visit with him on episode 166. So we will link that episode in our notes. We really enjoyed that one.
I listened to that. It was good. Yeah.
So speaking of 4-H, is there more to say on that topic? That's one of your family's 4-H's, and you're talking about the 4-H organization. So is there more to tell us?
I think I kind of let Jeremiah kick it off as the 4-H'er, and then I guess Cindy and I could give you our experience, what we've seen the benefit from them being in it. So go ahead, Jeremiah.
Yeah. So 4-H, they call it a organization or a nonprofit for young kids who are learning leadership, citizenship, and life skills. So it's anyone from probably the age of 6 years old to 18. You can be a member of 4-H, and within 4-H you have a project. So my project is goats, but someone else's project might be dairy cows or sewing or cooking or gardening, any kind of, I guess you could call it stewardship related kind of interest. You can turn that into a project. And so how it works for me is that I work on my goats throughout the year. I feed them, I take care of them. I have to do stuff like clipping their hooves and cleaning them, washing them, and working with them so that at the end of the 4-H year, which is like October, at the end of the 4-H year, I present the work that I've done, basically, at my 4-H fair. And I show my goats in that show. And so that show is a culmination of the work that I've done throughout the year on my project. So that's basically what 4-H is. You have a project and you work on it throughout the year, and hopefully your county has a 4-H fair, and then you take what you worked on and you enter it into the 4-H fair and compete against others. It can be the same thing for even baking. You bake throughout the year and you improve your baking, and then you can put any, you make a cake, put it into the exhibit hall and compete against other cakes. So that's how I see it.
Is there much interaction between you and some of the other 4-H participants during the year, or is it just
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's within counties, there are clubs. So my club is Great Goats and More, which the Smiths founded, the people that sold us the goats, they founded that club. And so clubs are usually localized groups of people, 4-Hers, who have similar interests. Like right now, our club isn't just goat people, but maybe about 10 years ago, it was mostly goat people in 4-H in the surrounding towns. And there's a dog club, and there's an arts and agriculture club. There's a dairy cow club, a beef cow club, that kind of thing. So that's at least how it works regionally for me. But usually we have monthly meetings with our clubs, and that's also another thing that 4-H teaches, public speaking, all that kind of stuff, and how to run a meeting. And we run our meetings by Robert's Rules of Orders, and we have a treasurer, we have a secretary, we have a president, we have vice presidents, and we even have we have our clubs, and then people from clubs can come to our fair board. So we have our fair at the end of the year, but obviously we need a way to run that, facilitate it, and it's all run by 4-Hers. And so we get that learning experience of budgeting and making a calendar and a schedule for our fair, and networking and finding. We don't do stuff like entertainment and rides, but doing stuff like we have to get judges for our goat show and the cow show and the rabbit show. So 4-Hers learn how to network and do all that kind of stuff, how to plan out their year accordingly, how to budget, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, there's clubs in which localized people can connect, and then the whole county as a whole, anyone can come together at the fair board meeting, which is also monthly, and work on building our fair. So
I think it's similar to homeschooling in that it teaches them, a lot of the skills that they need to succeed in school. It's the parents are strictly the mentors. They're kind of our rails, but most of the functions, the kids set up whatever the function is. The county leader will be there to supervise, but they have a cooking competition every year. We're in the fall now.
Yeah.
And each club kind of competes against each other based on whatever the theme is. They do public speaking every year in February, so a kid can come up with a topic. We had a friend of ours, a homeschool family friend of ours, son made it to the state level speaking on gun safety. That was about 8 years ago now, I think, for Lucas. So it's pretty interesting. It's pretty broad. But there's, like Jeremiah said, there's a lot of good benefits to the life skills, because the kids kind of are in charge. I mean,
Learn by doing.
Yeah, that's their saying is their motto is learn by doing. Correct.
It sounds like a really great way to also find like-minded people that are to interact with,
Correct.
in a good way, too.
For sure.
Yeah, it's like having a homeschool network,
Yeah.
but it's 4-H was set up to be agriculture related,
Project related now.
project related
You
now.
can do robotics or STEM things or whatever.
Yeah.
Very-
We had a girl in our club who eventually got into show dogs and has gone to the American Kennel Club show in Madison Square Garden and shown a dog. I mean, that's the highest you can get as someone who's in that world. She routinely travels across the country. She's older than anyone, I think, right? Anita's age, maybe. And that's what she made her life's profession now, is being a handler.
Wow.
So, yeah.
one thing that 4-H pushes you to be is definitely creative, because we also have a fair book for our fair, and people will make like cover art for the fair, and we have a t-shirt, and then like art for the t-shirt, and you gotta go get ads for like
So we can pay for the fair book.
yeah, sponsorships for the fair book and that kind of stuff. So it's all just a big like team effort. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. All right, that leaves us with one H of your four H's. You want to tell us about the fourth one?
Mom, well, right? Home birth.
Yeah, he's put me on the spot here. I didn't know I was going to have to talk about this. I didn't prepare anything.
Well, it's off the cuff anyway.
It's pretty much like we got into the homeschooling. We ended up, starting to investigate it. Well, more or less because we got to the hospital 10 nights before our daughter was born, the first one. So after that, we had subsequently the four boys, and we started to look into, all right, maybe what about home birth? We know other people in the area and the neighborhood have actually done successful home births, and we knew there were a few midwives independently working in the area that we could, scout out. We started to educate ourselves about it. It was definitely, an educational, it was that little bit of learning curve and wanting to get the facts before we decided to go with it. And that first experience, it was great. It was great being in our own home, our own surroundings. Recovering at home was great. I had two complicated pregnancies and deliveries, which really helped my comfort level with that whole thing. But I think if you like homeschooling, look around and, ask questions and start to educate yourself through, people, contacts that you might have, or, talking to midwives to just other people about their experiences, just kind of naturally led us down that path. And we were comfortable with it, and became more comfortable with each subsequent home birth, and successfully, four boys were delivered at home with a midwife and a couple almost during a snowstorm.
Right.
Our midwife had to camp out before one for one of it. So it was a great experience and very comforting to be at home. If there's any thought that the midwife thinks you're in danger, they will send you to the hospital. At any point, they will not mess around with, something that they know they need assistance with, but they can handle a lot of diverse situations overall. They're very well trained. Some communities are fortunate to have birthing centers that they have employed, independent midwives at those. The next best thing to home birth opportunities. So we just found a natural progression, and we've done a lot of other things at home, as you know. So for us, it was a great experience.
Yeah, and I think it helped us.
Midwives.
We had Christian midwives, and I think it helped us. That was what jettisoned us into the other three H's. It was a natural progression from home birth. Well, what do you do with the kid now? You need to homeschool them. And then once they're in homeschooling, what are the outlets for them? Well, 4-H was one, and then from 4-H it rolled into homesteading. So it's been a nice circle of life, and I don't even think we talked about it as an engaged couple, right? I mean, Cindi asked me about homeschooling because she knew I had told myself about homeschool, but home birth wasn't on the radar, and homesteading wasn't, and 4-H was. I knew of it because my dad was in it, so it did. It all came together, and providentially in God's plan, I guess, very nicely for our family. It's not perfect. Trust me, not. We're not the Beavers. We're not, Warden, whatever their names were, but it's worked for us. That's what I tell people. My sales pitch to people is, it's worked for us, and it's made us very happy, and it's where we landed and it's not for everybody. I get it.
So Jeremiah, coming back to your next chapter now that you have finished up at Kolbe, you're headed off to Christendom. Is that right? You want to tell us a bit about that? That was kind of up in the air when we talked to you last.
Yeah. So when we were talking, I was deciding between Christendom College and University of Mary in North Dakota. And so I made a visit to both of them. Visit Christendom College, it was great. Visit University of Mary, pretty cold, but it was good. And then I also
minus 20 degrees.
Oh my goodness.
Fair,
Dead of winter. Good time to visit.
So then I did a scholarship competition, the Padre Appeal scholarship competition at Christendom College, and I got to meet some of my future classmates. And just the whole way Christendom does it, it's almost like they don't shove you into it, but they make sure that you've seen enough of the college to know whether you like it or not. So I got summer camp and my official visit, and then also the scholarship competition. So I visited it 3 times before I even made that decision, as opposed to just one for University of Mary. So that was one factor in the decision, just the fact that I had gotten to know a few people. I become comfortable with the campus and all that. The admission, great people. Another factor was just the closeness to home. Me and mom and dad, we sat down one night and we laid out the pros and the cons. And one of the biggest factors was just that I'm a I'm a car ride away. I'm an 8-hour car ride away instead of a plane ride away, which financially everything it just makes a lot more sense. And I just think that the more I tell people about like my decision and how, if you go to a big school, choose this specific major, everyone's like, oh, a lot of people decide to change their major anyway. And so what the liberal arts is all about is that you don't have to choose this specific skill set. It's more of a jack of all trades, master of none kind of thing. And so I could even do something like theology, philosophy, and probably have skills for, I don't know how many jobs, plenty of jobs. So that was part of the process. There's closeness to home. I was a lot more comfortable with it and the liberal arts access. But it's not for everyone. They say it's not for everyone, but I think it's for me.
I'm excited for you. I hope it goes even better than you're expecting. I hope it goes even better than that. All that makes good sense. Yeah.
Can I just add one thing about Christendom?
Mhm.
So it's pretty interesting. I mean, you guys offer classical curriculum here, and the head of development for the university, Tom McFadden or whatever his real title is, he says he's the lead cheerleader. Put an interesting statistic up at this competition. He said, okay, I know all you parents are worried about what your kids are going to do after college. And he put on this whiteboard, and there's Yale and Christendom and all these other colleges. And he says, see that school there, Yale, an Ivy League school. 97.5% of their kids found jobs. The class of, this was U.S. News and World Report 2023 or 2024 report. Christendom was second, 96.5. 125 kids from the 2023 class found work with liberal arts degrees. So he's like, you can go back and tell Uncle Ed, it doesn't have to just be engineering, or it doesn't just have to be political science, or it doesn't, there's such a myth around it. And he'll say that, once a company finds out about Christendom kids, they want to hire more of them. They're adaptable. They have a good skill set. They're malleable. They're trainable because they haven't just done one discipline. So it's, the sky is really the limit for him, I think, and for any of those kids. But again, it's not for everybody. But it's a wonderful opportunity. And it's beautiful down there. I don't know if either of you ever been to the Shenandoah Valley. If you get down there, go visit the university. The new chapel is exquisite. It's really the icing on the cake for them to have that chapel now. And just the surrounding, it's kind of like Southern Vermont South, the way the valley is set up. It's and it's a car ride away from home.
Yeah, that's big. It's big. Yes. Well, lots of good things to come for you.
Yeah.
This has really been a wonderful conversation. I've loved getting to know you all. Do you have any final thoughts or takeaways you want to leave with us before we wrap up?
I just wanted to set the record straight because 4-H, yeah, there's all this like homeschool, homesteading, homebirth. Technically, the 4-H's are heart, health, hands, and head. So heart is all about, you have your heart into it, you're really invested into it. Health, we learn about health, like my dad said. We do a whole the food show. We learn about food safety and all that kind of stuff. Hands, it's a hands-on experience. You get to work with your hands and help heart, health, hands, and head. You have an intellectual aspect to it. You have to think with your head about that kind of decision, like which goat am I going to enter in the fair, which cake am I going to enter in the fair, what's the safest thing to do in the situation, the creative aspect. So heart, health, hands, and head. That's actually 4-H's, but yeah.
So there's the 4-H organization and the McMahon family 4-H. Two
Yeah,
things.
it sounds kind of biblical. It's like 7 H's. You've got the
Yeah.
4, 3 together, and so it's
Our last name should start with an H. I don't,
There you go.
it should be Houlihan or whatever good Irish name with an H is. I don't know. Yeah, it's been a pleasure to be with you too. It's our heart and our soul. Like he's talking about the 4-H's for 4-H, and just happy to share it with people. It's benefited us a lot. And I talking about it. Hopefully, kind of like John Cuddy's next thing about, his life craft, like having good skills to have a good life. That's how we see it. We've lived a good life by homesteading.
Does sound beautiful. Thank you for sharing it with us. Cindi, do you have anything you wanted to say? Wrapping up?
Oh, not much. I think that's a good wrap up. I think, what they said is all true. And, again, I would just say ease into it. If it's something you feel you're, kind of going in that direction or being called to, and, just take it one step at a time and breathe and relax, pray. The piece of homeschooling advice in general that I wish I followed, implemented more perfectly, but that I read years ago, that just pray, relax, and it'll all get done. Don't worry. And it's not perfect, it's not pretty sometimes, and it's but it's a great life. It's really been great. So yeah, it wouldn't really change much of anything.
That's what Padre Pio told all the homeschooling moms in his village back there in Italy, right? Hope, don't worry and proceed with your schoolwork for your kids.
Yeah. Relax and enjoy it. It goes fast.
Sure.
It goes really fast.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all for giving us a glimpse into your life and spending this time with us. It's really been a pleasure, and we wish you all the best. Our show notes will have links to relevant Kolbecast episodes, including the John Cuddeback episode that has come up a couple times, and with the episode with Jeremiah where we met him, episode 244, along with some other relevant links. So once again, we thank you for spending this time with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Subscribe to the Kolbecast on your favorite podcast app so that you don't miss an episode. And let us know how we're doing by leaving a rating or a review. And as always, feel free to email us at podcast@kolbe.org.
Mary, our Mother, pray for us. St. Maximilian Kolbe, St. Ignatius of Loyola, holy saints and angels, pray for us. Ad maiorem Dei gloriam.